The one thing you can't get from this is the smell. It's a fantastic smell as well.
So it was built as an Abbey record car, and on December the 30th, 1905, on a road in the south of France, it did 109.65 miles an hour.
109. Okay.
Then it was shipped to America. 3 weeks later, it was at Florida Speed Week, where it did in 05. So we're now January 06, and it was the first car to do 2 miles in a minute, which is 120 miles an hour. And then 6 months later, Algie bought it, Algernon Guinness,
Yes.
and he competed with it in sprints for about 3 years, and he won lots of sprints with it.
And he would recognise it as it is now.
I have tried to do it as close as I'm capable of how it was. It would, I mean, I don't actually know what colour it was, but it may well have been that colour.
Yep.
But apart from that, it's as close as possible.
So he probably, yeah,
He would reckon, oh, easily.
And you race it.
Yes, I mean I've only just got it going, so I've raced at Silverstone. In fact, how fast have I been? I don't know, but a friend of mine followed me back from Silverstone, and he said, "Bloody hell, you're coming up the Foss." He said, "You're cruising at 85 and doing 90 at some point." So, oh my God, okay. So I don't know. So I've probably done 100 in it so far, but I want to take it back to the road in France where it did 109. I've got to go back there.
Yeah.
And do that again. That can't be difficult.
Who drove it in France? And
in France, Victor Hemery, who was a famous racing driver, drove it in France and got the national record there.
Okay.
And then when it went to America for the Florida Speed Week, Hemery was also a driver. He was a very fiery character, very tricky chap. And I don't know what the details are, a bit sketchy, but in one of the races they set off and someone jumped the start, but Hemery carried on and maybe thought he'd broken the record or whatever, came back and said, "I'm terribly sorry that jumped start, you've got to do it again." And he went ballistic and swore at the American officials in French and was promptly banned from the meeting. And then Louis Chevrolet drove it, and also a guy called Demaget, who was a sort of mechanic, also drove it in America. And then 6 months later, it was Algie's.
Okay, and did Algie ever break the land speed records in it?
Well, the land speed, it's not just the land speed record. There's the outright land speed record, but there are two of those at least, because there's a flying kilometre and a flying mile. And of course, even maybe to this day, people, the Americans, you know, an American record and an English or a European record, you know, the French didn't recognise the American records and vice versa. But Algie broke the English record at Saltburn in 1909, and he did 120 on the beach at Saltburn, and that was an English record. Well, he was there in 1908 as well, and it may well have been. I don't know how fast he went in 08, but I think it was 9, but I'm not sure. But certainly at Saltburn he did 120, and he did other records. You know, standing kilometre, standing mile. He broke records like that as well.
And what was the record that he broke? At 120, where had it stood
What was the
that?
English record before that? I don't know. No. Good question. And the record, the 109.65, was only because 100 miles an hour was broken in 1903 by a car called the Gobron Brillet.
Okay.
But I think by 1905 it was not much. He only just broke it, like 107 or something like that. Okay. But clearly the car, you know, 3 weeks later was doing 120.
Yes.
So he could have gone faster. But I think it was very cold. It was December the 30th, and I think the carburation wasn't very good. I don't know.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But
how fantastic.
It's just an incredible car.
Is
It's
it?
very powerful. It only weighs a ton,
Yeah.
and it's, I think, but certainly at least 250 brake horsepower. So you'd have to have a very fast modern car to be as quick as that.
Yeah.
And it's 105 years old.
It's remarkable, isn't
It is incredible.
It's not.
And you know, that's 25 litres. 25.4.
it? So how many cans
Well,
of fuel have you gone through to get
Well,
here?
I think it does about 7 mpg.
Does it? So that's good, isn't it?
Well, luckily it's got a small fuel tank, so it doesn't seem that expensive. You just have to stop every 50 miles to fill it up.
Top it up. And it runs on what?
Oh, just lead-free.
I know, yeah, you had to put something in it to...
No, it's a very low compression. It's not. It's
Okay.
not a problem. And Castrol, it smells good, which is the oil they would have used anyway. And like I say, I'm still sort of getting the hang of it.
What's the next thing? To do to it? Or,
Oh, to
or
do
not a lot?
to it. Hang of it.
What's the next thing? To do to it? Or,
Oh, to
or
do
not a lot?
to it. The clutch is very tricky. It's got the original lining in the clutch, and it has the characteristics of a bad clutch. It slips when it should be engaged when you're accelerating, but when you're trying to slip it to pull away, it grabs.
Yep.
And I haven't got the hang of it yet. And there's a bit of learning to do there. But basically, I thought it would overheat, but it doesn't seem to. I think it must have overheated without you, because I've got one picture of the car with an extra radiator on the front, which is a clue that it overheated.
Yep.
But when I because I knew that, in fact, when I made this radiator, I did a very subtle modification. The reason it's a VRAD, you might think, first thing, it's streamlining. But in fact, when you think about it, you don't want the air to go round the radiator, you want it to go through the radiator. So it's not streamlining, it's to make it bigger, because some of the earlier cars had a flat radiator with just the width of the chassis.
Yep.
But you can make it bigger by making a longer one and folding it in half. But the fins
All the fins
were facing the wrong way,
Yeah,
because the air's... So what I did, I bent the leading edge of the fins so they're pointing forwards. And I don't know, but I did before I made the radiator, I did a test sample. I got 2 samples of the fin tube and blew air at them, and the ones with the unbent fins, a lot of the air deflected off and didn't go through, and by bending over that made an enormous difference. So just maybe doing that has made a difference between it working and not working. But I haven't had any cooling problems. If I let it tick over for another minute, it would have started to boil. And if I got stuck in a traffic jam, it would be a complete nightmare. But generally driving it, I haven't had any cooling problems, so I'm really pleased about that. So the clutch is probably... Oh, and the brakes are a bit heavy. I think I've got to make a longer brake lever there. That's exactly how it was. If I make a longer one, I'll get a bit more leverage. But I don't think they weren't worried. You know, there was no traffic. It wasn't meant to be driven. It was just I just had to do just a land speed record car.
So you have 2